What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Travis. We got Cam out here swinging a rope, but this is TWA Motorsports. And today, welcome to the world's nastiest Yukon. But if you guys notice, it is raining. He's swinging a rope around in the rain. Anyway, so that's why it's so dirty, guys. We get a day of 100 degrees and then it rains the next day. It's hard to keep up with. But today, I am sick of fighting the ride quality of these eBay 6-inch drop spring, guys. It didn't give us 6 inches of drop. It gave us right at 5. I think we can get that with the Belltech spring. So that is what we're going to be doing today. We're going to give it a shot and see if we can improve the ride. Look, I've got RideTech shocks all the way around, coilovers in the front, shocks in the back. It can't be a shock issue. It just can't. My truck rides so good. I really think it's the spring. And so I'm sick of fighting it. We are going to be installing some Belltech springs. Now, guys, these are the 5305 springs. You cannot buy them by themselves. You guys have seen me in the past use the 4230 springs, which is actually a Trailblazer spring. I wanted to give these a shot because I haven't used these in a long time. The last one I used them on, the vehicle rode great, and it actually wasn't even mine. It was one that I did for a neighbor of mine on the channel, and they bought a kit, and it came with these. So I wanted to give these a shot. Now, you'll also notice I've got some heater hose. The heater hose is because I'm going to be removing that top isolator to try to get a little bit of additional drop. I'm also going to be removing the bags. Obviously, we've got helper bags inside the spring, which we don't ever haul with this since I have my truck. So I'm going to be taking those out as well. But this kit, I will list in the description down below. You can see 32324. I will list a link to it below. Comes with new bump stops if you were just doing a complete drop on the back. It comes with shock relocators, the hardware, but all we are going to be using out of this kit are the springs. Remember, we have the DJM relocation kit on this thing, so we shouldn't need that. But the very first thing we need to do is we need to chock the front wheels because we're going to be just lifting the back only. And because we're going to be lifting the back only, the front's going to want to roll forward. And before I do that and get it off the ground, I'm going to get my little rubber wheel chocks here. Before we even do that, guys, I want to measure how high off the ground we are now. So as we've been driving this thing we probably put, I don't know, roughly 5,000 miles on it since the drop. I want to see how close we are. And then I want to see when we first set it down, how close are these going to be to the height of this. Out of curiosity, I did measure the front. It has settled about 1/8 of an inch, but what about the back? Let's take a look and see what we've got. Somebody made a comment in a video a while back I should be measuring from the center of the wheel. That doesn't make any sense to me, but you know, you do your way and I'll do mine. This, to me, the ground's perfectly level out here. Guys, we are at 33 1/8. Actually, right on the money, 33 1/8. On this side. Let's go to the other side. On the driver's side, we are at 33 3/16. 33 3/16 on the driver's side. Yes. All right. So now we've got our starting measurements. Let's get going with, I'm going to write all this down. Driver's side, 33 3/16. So it's a 1/16 of an inch higher on the side. We'll see what happens. So now that we're under here, you'll notice that I have jack stands right where the frame starts to get thick again, right in front of the lower control arm. See that up there on both sides? And I've also still got the jack underneath the rear end. So what we need to do just to get the spring out is we're going to have to undo. This is the stock bolt. You can see my washers. I hate that. 21 mil or 22, I think, and then 3/4 because we're probably going to have to let our sway bar loose as well to get enough drop in order to make this all happen. Now that we've got the shock unbolted, as you can see, that was actually 21. The 3/4 that went in the DJM relocation kit for the sway bar, that is both loose. And then I went ahead and cut all the zip ties that are holding my airline back to this point. Like I said, we're taking the airbags out at the same time. So here's what's going to happen. We're going to start to lower this thing down. Man, I didn't do a very good job placing the rear end. It's kind of hard to see when they're so low, you know? So we need to bring this down. And it's gonna get to the point where the springs get super loose. You can see they're already, I could probably pop them out at this point. You can see we're pulling, the line should be coming loose with it. And I think we may get all the way to the ground, it looks like. We are. That's perfect. That's perfect placement. Now I can move my jacks more to the center. That'll work a little better. And we can reach up in here and get this spring out. Now this one, guys, we're not gonna have enough room to sneak it out the back. We're gonna have to go out the front side. So just lift up on it, see there, and pull it out the front. On the back, or sorry, on this other side, you should be able to get this one out coming this way. You can see we've got more room. Got both of them out. Had him drag that one out the front after I got it loose. This is the passenger, or sorry, driver's side here. You can see, let's take a look at the difference here. You're probably thinking, there's no way, like how could this possibly drop it any lower? Well, guys, these up top, see how close they are together? These are what they call dead coils. So a couple things we're gonna be doing. One, like I said, we're gonna be using heater hose on the top, and we will not be using that bottom isolator. See this one right here? We've got two isolators. You've got this bottom one, okay? And then you have a top one. You can see how thick that thing is. So we will not be using either one of those isolators. We're not gonna use one on the bottom. We're just gonna set that spring directly on the rear end. I've never had any problem with it making noise, if you're wondering. But for the top, we're gonna be using heater hose. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cover this top section with heater hose, which, guys, this is kind of a chore. Generally, I think 3/4 is what most people recommend. I generally, or 5/8 maybe, I got the next size up because the last time it was a literal fight trying to get this pushed on there. So I bought a 5-foot piece just so I have some extra. And guys, we're only gonna use, we probably won't even use a foot to go around the top here. So basically I'm just wanting to get around it to where it's setting on some sort of rubber and we're not hearing this spring rattle around in there since we're removing the isolator. Now you can take my advice or not. I cut a little bit of this spring. I cut basically half a hoop off the top for a couple reasons. One, guys, without using the isolator, it's not gonna really matter because it's gonna center in that opening up top. I've seen a lot of people cut these in the past. Like I said, don't take my advice, you do what you want, but this could give us an additional 1/2 inch of drop, and it shouldn't affect, since we're up on the dead coils, it shouldn't affect any of the way, as far as the ride quality, or I don't even think it's probably gonna give us much drop. But here's what it will make life a lot easier doing, getting the hose on. Trying to reel that hose around this is next to impossible. It fights you the entire way. So now this should thread on with ease. And if I have any problems, I'll let you guys know, but I've done this in the past. Like I said, I know a lot of people aren't gonna wanna cut the springs, put them in with the stock isolator then, and don't do the heater hose mod. That would be my suggestion, or spend a gob of time and wreck your hands trying to push that around. But I'm gonna get the hose on here now. I gotta cut the other one too, and then we'll be ready to go back in the car. So here's what we got now. We've got both of the springs with the heater hose on them. So guys, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna place these identically on the bottom. So you see where it sets on the rear end right here. Make sure you can read your Belltech before you cut anything. You're supposed to be cutting from the top. Technically, you're not supposed to be cutting, but hey, don't tell anybody. But you need to make sure that your dead coils, you can see how they're really close together, that's your top. But anyway, on the bottom, when I put this on, I'm gonna face this towards the rear of the rear end, this opening, and I make that uniform on both sides. So obviously it's not gonna be symmetrical, meaning the coils are wound the same way, but this opening is gonna be placed at the exact same spot on both sides, if that makes sense. So if you put it like this, with this facing back, this end, then you need to do the other one the exact same way. So I've got the spring in there. If you'll notice, I had to take the wheel off because I didn't have enough room to get the spring in. It's that much longer. So I ended up having to take the wheel off to get it to fall a little further. Obviously we can't jack it back up and move the jack stands up because there's no spring in there. But we got them in there, and if you'll notice, like I said, the opening's in the same spot. I've actually got the opening here on the very left, And I've got the exact same thing going here on the other side. Now, what I'm gonna have Cam do here is Cam is going to lift this with the jack. I'm gonna have him jack this up while I'm going back and forth. So from the right side, driver's side to the passenger side, making sure that top is lining up where it's supposed to be. You're gonna need a light. I've got my flashlight here. So let's do that and get this thing all in place. Cam was able to kind of help by jacking this up. Once we got it jacked up into place, like I said, guys, I was just making sure that those things centered up like they were supposed to, and they did. And you can see all those top springs, they basically collapse. But after he did that, I did go ahead and put our shock bolts back in and our sway bar end links. So we will have to re-torque those, but that's not that big a deal. I believe they're 85 on the bottom, and I put these at 37, if I remember correctly. And so what we will do is we'll get that accomplished. We'll get those torqued down, and then I'm going to go ahead and put the wheels back on, and we're going to set it down and see what we've got. If there was any difference, I could tell you that it definitely, obviously you have to get the rear end down a lot further, but I'm hoping the spring will ride so much better. So I've got everything torqued down, got the wheels back on. Guys, we need to put it on the ground, and then we're gonna have to torque the wheels down, obviously, since we had to take them off. Those go to 140. What do you think? Think it'll be lower, same height? Holy cow, that's noisy. I think it's gonna be pretty close to the same. Maybe a little higher right now. I'm gonna bounce up and down on the bumper. I'm going to torque the wheels down, and we're gonna get our tape measure and we're gonna measure it. Now I really think we're gonna have to let this thing settle out, but let's give it a shot here and see. Guys, we are at same spot. We're at 33 and 5/16. Or no, sorry. Half. That'd be 9/16. So we're at 33 and 9/16. So it did come up, but look, we were at, what were we at? 3/16 before, so now we're at 9/16. So it came up a little bit, but I really think our ride's gonna improve, and I also think this is gonna settle. So here's what I'm gonna do. We know what that one is, 33 and 9/16. What is this one? It is about 33 and a half. And they were off. That's about how much they were off side to side. So I'm gonna write that down. You could see my old stuff. Guys, I'm gonna be using some of these parts on, I think, another project, maybe the Suburban, down the road. Now I'm not gonna be using these springs, but maybe some of this other stuff. So stay tuned down the road for that, but we got a ways to go. We need to get a motor in it first. But anyway, like I said, I'm going to write these numbers down. We're gonna check back after she puts maybe, let's say, about 200 to 500 miles on this. We're gonna pull it back in this exact same spot in the garage, and we're gonna give it another measure and see how much it settled. In the meantime, we'll also see how much better it rides, and we will report back. So here we are. I'm getting ready to wash this thing, guys. I'm actually in the top garage, and this thing's filthy. This poor thing has not had a bath in a while, but we have driven it probably, I don't know, probably close to 300 or 400 miles since I did this spring swap. And is the spring better? Yeah, it rides a little better. I just wanted to get a measurement to see if it settled some, and I think it probably did. We are at 33 and 5/16. Okay, and that is the, let's see, passenger side. 33 and 5/16. Now we started at 33 and a half, so it actually looks like it may have came up a little bit, right? So unless my measurements were off, we're on the right side. Here's where we were before. We were at 33 and an 8. So look, it did come up a little bit. What is that? 2/16. So it came up 3/16 of an inch. But guys, look, ultimately, and I guess I need to measure the other side too. Ultimately, I'm happier with the ride quality now than those cheap eBay springs I had. And this side is, holy cow. That's another cool thing. Look, 33 and 5/16 on this side too. So we're dead on square. What was the other side before? 33 and 3/16. Well, that's cool that we're even side to side. Anyway, so like I said, I think that these springs ride a lot softer than the ones that I had. Like I said, those were just cheapy eBay springs. It was what I could get. Look, I know, like I said, somebody's gonna say, get with NorCal, get some 6-inch springs. Guys, I haven't had any luck with that avenue before. I've dealt with Tony at NorCal before, and just nothing against him, it just didn't work out. So, and I honestly, guys, I don't want a 6-inch spring on this because it's really setting. If you're dropped 6 inches in the back, you're dang near riding on the bump stops when you have any weight in the back, or you're hitting, it's got a pretty slender bump stop now, but I'm happy with this. This is the spring. Basically, guys, I generally, when I drop one of these things, I do a 42/30 spring, which, like I said, is a Trailblazer spring. They ride just about as good. I can't honestly tell you that I can tell a difference between this, which is the Belltech 5305. I'll list it in the description. You have to buy it with the shock extender. It comes as a kit. You can't just buy the spring by itself. The 42/30 spring you can buy by itself. I'll list that as in the description as well. Both made by Belltech. Like I said, guys, I can't tell you the difference. I generally use a 42/30. I wanted to try this one because I heard it gets a little bit lower, and maybe it does. I don't have another one to put in to tell you guys for sure. But this looks very, very close, probably within a 1/4 of an inch of what the 42/30 spring would do, maybe a 1/4 of an inch lower. But either way, like I said, I'm happy with the ride. I got to wash this thing up. It's making me sick looking at this thing. But if you guys did enjoy this video, go down there and hit that thumbs up button. Guys, of course, if you're not subscribed, go down there, hit that subscribe button. While you're down there doing all that, ring that bell notification that notifies you every single time we drop a new video. And stay tuned to see what we work on next.